Morning, folks. The soap is brought to us from Stirling. This one here is Smoky Grapefruit. Yep, that's what it smells like. This one here comes in a 3-ounce variety. I want to make sure what 3.5. And that's what it looks like there on the inside. It does smell really nice. Grapefruit, I don't know. To me, it just smells nice when it comes to grapefruit. Got the matching aftershave here in one of these smaller containers. This one here is 2 ounce. Nice green one. Uh, I like the green containers. You know, to me they look pretty cool. I've got it whipped up here in a smooth bottom bowl here, and with a get it right here. There we go. Mag T brush. This one here has got a brown synthetic knot. In other words, similar to horsehair, if you will. And yeah, it does smell good. This one here is a smaller knot, so if you're looking for a brush that has a smaller knot, in other words, definitely smaller than a 24 millimeter knot, this one here just might be right up your alley. I'll have a link down below. MagT offers 2 different ones. This one here, and it's more to do with, I guess you might say, the handle, if you will, the shape of the handle. But at any rate, I've got it whipped up here. I think it runs about $16, maybe $17. I don't recall right off the top of my head what size the knot is, but I'm kind of thinking it might be close to 20 millimeter. It could be 22. But man, this does smell great this morning. And of course, you know, if you've seen the thumb, this one here is the MagT Alpha. If you're unfamiliar with this, I have another version of this, the first version I've ever tried, with a nice big wide handle. And for some folks, that handle might just be just a little bit too big, or they just, you know, can't wrap their mind around how comfortable that will be. And they offer this one here. I think it's running right at the $25 mark, 35, I'm sorry, if you're interested in checking one of these out. Now, this particular razor has a unique setup in that the head is, it's got a very strong magnet. That is something to be aware of in a big way, because it's got like a 4-pound pull. It is very strong magnet, and that is what keeps everything in place. You see the 2 magnets, one in the head, one in the base plate, and that is something to keep in mind because it has such a pull. It will snap things into place and it keeps it there. I'm going to be using a, this is a Personna X series blade here, and go ahead and unwrap it. Matter of fact, when I put this blade in here, you might be able to hear some of the, I guess you might, some of the action, if you will. And that's what the labeling looks like on the blade itself. And I go ahead and I place it right there on the base plate, and it pulls it right down on the plate. I mean, it just, if you will, sucks it right on there. It just pulls it straight on there. And then when you go to put the cap on, yeah, it'll pull it right on there. You get relatively close. So you want to be kind of careful when you do that to make sure you get your fingers on the ends, because like I say, it does have a strong pull. That cap is not, or the blade is not going anywhere during the shave. Feels pretty good in the hand. This will be the first time using it, so we'll go ahead and get started. I've already put a hot towel to the face this morning, and still sporting the Art of Shaving pre-shave oil, and wet the face and get started here. Today being, today is my dad's birthday. Yeah, we are getting older because my dad, my oldest son, and well, in other words, we got 3 generations of Smiths that have birthdays in January. All males, if you will. But anyway, it's just one of those things that I find pretty interesting, how sometimes how birthdays will fall. For instance, like my wife's and my youngest son's birthdays. My wife's birthday falls on the 23rd, and so does my youngest son. So all that sort of thing, you know, these birthdays that fall in certain days or certain months, it's just kind of unique. But anyway, just one of those things. Go ahead and get started here. Now, as it goes for the shaver itself, if you're interested in getting it, when I shaved with the one with the bigger handle, myself, I didn't find any problems using the handle. I thought I might, but I didn't find myself during the shave, you know, having to really, you know, think about adjusting my grip with that handle. If you're kind of wondering about it, I've got the video. It's been a few months ago, but do have a video with that particular razor. It's pretty unique. Um, Actually, I enjoyed the razor. It was a pretty nice shave. I have every expectation that it's going to be the same with this one here. I don't recall off the top of my head what the weight of this razor is. I'm wanting to say maybe 4 ounces. I can't remember for sure. Anyway, I got a link down below if you want to check this out. Now, of course, you marry this up with the blade of your choice. Astra greens aren't, for me, they're a pretty decent blade. I have good luck with them. Might be one to check out. Persona's my pretty much my go-to blade. Whatever Personna, red, blue, X series, comfort coated, whatever labeling they have on it seems to work well for me. But like anything else, whatever blade you choose to use, in other words, using the feather blade in this one here might give it a bit more, how can you say, aggressive feel, if you will, if you feel like it's a little too mild. I don't feel like it's mild. It feels medium on me, just my experience. Definitely not a mild razor. At least I don't feel like it is. It might just depend on what kind of blade you're going to be using. But for me, it's a pretty nice shaver. Just enough blade feel, let you know that it's there to command the respect, if you will. But nothing over the top, in my opinion. Don't feel any vibration of the blade or anything of the sort like that either. Might say that magnet is pretty darn strong. If you know, for me as a kid, whenever I'd have a magnet to play with, it was something that seemed to be kind of interesting to me as a kid, messing around with a magnet. So if it brings back those sort of things, don't be surprised, because that magnet is kind of fun to play with. How much it picks up. For me, this size knot works really well. It had no problems whipping up Stirling soap. For me, the small knots are easy to use. And a video here pretty soon, not the next one, but probably the one after that, I'll be breaking out I mentioned before, a rubber set that's got a really small knot size. I mean, really small. It's about that big. It is pretty small, and it very well could be the original knot. I'm not real sure, but anyway, for me, I find it amazing how well it whips up a lather being that small, and it's a bore knot. And from my experience, at least for me, what works well for me when it comes to natural bristle, horsehair to me seems like it needs the least amount of breaking in and works well. At least for me, it seems like. For my style of lathering and whipping up the lather and then painting it on the face, it seems like to me that horsehair is the easiest for me to use. And I've got several horsehair brushes. And if you're kind of wondering, even it's been a few years and I don't notice it quite as much anymore, but a few years back, I used to be able to find some inexpensive horsehair brushes on eBay, and in other words, really inexpensive, under $10, and right around the 24 millimeter knot. And even though those brushes had a tendency to shed a little bit more, still break-in period was basically non-existent. Whips up the lather pretty nice. Very similar to a synthetic in my opinion. It just, for me, horsehair is just a nice brush knot. And for some folks, that might be a a thing to look into, because with the horsehair, the it's just, I guess you might say, a naturally occurring process that you use with horses, and when they trim the horsehair from the mane and the tail, what they normally do anyway, through the grooming process, if you will. So in other words, there's no killing of the animals or anything quite like that. Against the green pass, like I say, there is just a little bit of a blade feel there. I think it's pretty nice shave. It reminds me in a way, as it goes for a blade feel, and the shave is very similar to what you might get with a Parker three-piece, if you will. Maybe the 26 or 24C. Both of them more or less have got the same head, just different handles. For those that are familiar with Parkers. To me, Parker razor is another one of those that kind of fits in a budget. Nice for me, nice shaves. This one here being right at the $35 mark. I mean, it is a pretty nice shaver. Two-piece, if you will. I never got into two-piece in what we're typically used to. In other words, with post and threads, and no threads, no post, magnet. I mean, if you've had any of those razors where the threads kind of get a little worn or corroded, especially on the vintage ones, and it's one of those things maybe that was off-putting to you. This one here has no threads, and the magnet, like I say, it's pretty darn strong, so I don't see it getting weak or anything of the sort. So the only other thing left would be the coating, but it seems to be a pretty nice shaver. Very unique in the fact that it's using magnets. Now, as it goes for, does the edge stay sharper longer, more usable over time? I really couldn't speak to that. I don't go through, I switch out blades and razors and shavers so often that I don't really give it much of a chance to, I guess you might say, to prove that point, but it works just fine as far as I can tell. Don't know, I got a spot over here that might, I think I got my angle off just a little bit. We'll see what the Alum block says. Nope, I thought it might be stinging, but nope. Kind of felt like maybe when I was shaving, I maybe got the angle and pressure off just a little bit right there, but I don't notice it with the Alum block. Use of the Alum block. My Alum block doesn't, in other words, get soaking wet like maybe you see in some other videos. And this is just the technique that works best for me. I've been popping it back into the case right after the use. Oh gosh, I don't know how many years, 4 maybe. It's been a good moment. And I haven't had any problems with the Alum block deteriorating, crumbling, or anything quite like that. Now, for some folks, it might be an issue. I know over the years, I can remember folks talking about putting holes in the case, you know, to allow it to air out. And some may even use one of those docks from Phoenix Arts and Accoutrements that was made for the, got my pre-shaved cube over here, or maybe even one that you've seen of recent history where one was made where it's kind of got a sunken in place, concave place where you can put your Alum block in there, let air dry out. For me, mine never gets soaking wet, so it seems to work okay for me this way. For the other folks, they may rather have it out in the open and let it air dry. But if you're ever wondering about my use of the Alum block, and I do leave it on my face, it seems to work, how can you say, okay for me. For other folks, you might want to rinse it off, but right after that, of course, you've always seen my videos, witch hazel follows right up in behind it. And that might be the, I can't say the trick with the way I do my routine that works well for me, is follow up with the witch hazel. When I first started using the Alum block alone, it seemed to dry out my face. In other words, the post-shave feel with just the alum block and then following up with an aftershave didn't really feel all that well. So went back to following up with the witch hazel. So that routine works well for me. I know some folks don't use the alum block on every shave. They only use it when the shave, I guess you might say, might demand it, where you might have a small nick or cut or something of the sort. For me, I just keep it as a routine. My skin seems to work well with it this way. All right, now for the aftershave. Like I said, this is a 2 ounce variety. I think the soap in the aftershave still might be on sale. $8.25, I think, if I remember right. Inexpensive, in my opinion. That's what the restrictor looks like there. I do like these 3 ounce varieties in the way of the soap and the 2 ounce of the aftershaves. Saves a little bit of room when you put it in your special place where you put all your shaving gear. The smoke and the grapefruit. For my nose, I smell the smoke and then I pick up the grapefruit. It kind of switches back and forth. But it does, I like this scent. Some people may not appreciate the grapefruit, or maybe they don't appreciate the smoky. I appreciate both of them. I like it. I can still smell it on the dry down. At least for me, it seems like the grapefruit is starting to take over and the smoky part's starting to dwindle a little bit. That's just me and my nose. Could be quite different for you. I had a great shave today. This is Monday, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm quite sure there's going to be a big game tonight. Whether you're rooting for either team or not, it's just, I enjoy the game. And I probably won't get to watch a whole lot of it, but I'll probably end up having to catch it on the computer. But anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Stay healthy, stay safe, and smooth shaves to you this morning.